everyone. Welcome to episode 42 of the Queen City Yarn Dyeing to Knit podcast. I'm Kristen, and this is a podcast about knitting and crochet and yarn dyeing and weaving and spinning and pretty much just my adventures in making things. So thank you so much for coming to join me today. It has been about a month, maybe a little over a month since I last podcasted or recorded an episode. I had all intentions of recording an episode before I went to Maryland Sheep and Wool, but that just didn't work out. And then since I've been home, I've had a kid sick each week. So last week it was my son, this week my daughter Caitlin. Thankfully, both are on the mend and feeling better. And so I'm really excited to share a ton of stuff with you today. I've got a whole bunch of finished objects to share. I have quite a few works in progress. I have some goodies that I got at Maryland Sheep and Wool that I want to share with you, or during that weekend, not all specifically at the festival. Yeah, just lots and lots of things to share. So let's get started with finished objects. I actually had to make myself a list today because, like I said, I have a ton to share, and actually I don't have everything with me. So the first thing that I want to talk about is, okay, back up. So Maryland Sheep and Wool weekend was the first weekend in May, and I was really excited to go again this year. After COVID and having not been for a few years, I really missed it. My mom and I always made it a mother-daughter weekend to celebrate Mother's Day and then my birthday, which comes like right after Maryland Sheep and Wool. And this year, my daughter Caitlin joined us, and it was such a fun girls' weekend. And one of the things that we got to do while we were there was see some of my friends, like Janice, the other half of Queen City Yarn. And so we on Friday, we drove out after school was done and met my mom at the hotel, and we had dinner, and then we went to bed. Saturday, we had intended to go to Maryland Sheep and Wool. However, the weather was super crummy. It was rainy and muddy and all of that jazz, and so we decided to kind of switch up our plans. And so Saturday, instead of going to the festival, we actually went to Frederick and met up with a whole bunch of my friends, including Janice. And I was able to gift her the first finished object that I'm going to tell you about today. So many moons ago, when I moved into the first home that my husband and I bought, Janice and some of my really great friends from Knitting Group made me a hand knit rug that was in front of my kitchen sink, and I just absolutely loved it, and it made me feel so special to have something that everyone had put so much time into making for my new home. And recently, in the past couple of months, Janice and her husband Brian have purchased their first home, which is also serving as the new Queen City Yarn headquarters and dye studio and all of that jazz. And I knew that I wanted to make something special for her as a housewarming gift. And so what I did was I made her a wall hanging. I don't have it because I gifted it to her Maryland Sheep and Wool weekend, but I will pop a picture in so you can see it. What I did was I used all of the new brand colors and made her a wall hanging for the new Queen City Yarn office. And so I texted Anne on the DL, said, like, don't tell Janice, but I need you to dye me some fiber in the new brand colors, because right after I kind of stepped back from Queen City some, it went through a whole rebranding, and there's like 5 colors that are used now, like, for everything. And so Anne dyed those up for me on fiber, and I did a wall hanging. It's not a huge one, but I think it's a really nice size. So the first thing that I did in the wall hanging was I needle felted the Queen City Yarn logo, which is a crown, and I did that, and then I did some sumac braids down at the bottom in each of the brand colors, and then just wove some natural colored, like, undyed yarn and attached the needle felted circle that I had made with the logo in it. And I'm really, really pleased with how this wall hanging turned out. I used needle felting on the back to kind of make it flat with all the ends and everything because there was a lot of fiber I used. And so I just needle felted those down, and it turned out really good. I'm super pleased with how it came out. I think Janice was excited about it. I spray painted a dowel gold and hung it on that because a lot of the little officey doodads that she has in the office are gold. And yeah, so that is the first finish. That's something that I had been working on behind the scenes and was not sharing anything about because I wanted it to be a surprise for Janice, and I think she was definitely surprised. She did say, oh, did you get this fiber from the shipment that I wasn't supposed to ask about? I was like, yeah, probably. Evidently, she noticed that there was a package coming to me, and usually when Queen City Yarn is coming to me, she's like pulled it all out and sending it herself, or makes a pile for Anne to send. And so she was like, yeah, I noticed there was a shipment, but I didn't know what it was. I was like, yeah, it was this. So I didn't end up using all of the fiber that Anne dyed, so I intend to and I wish I don't have it in an easy place to show you, but I intend to spin it and ply it together and make kind of a really fun hand spun at some point. I do have something on the wheel now, but so maybe when I'm done with that. But anyway, so that is the first finish. The next finished object I want to talk about is another one that I don't have, and it is called the coin flip hat. And this is a new design by my friend Shayna Line Designs. It just released today, which today is Friday, May the 27th. And if you're on Instagram, go and check her out. She did this reel with her husband for this hat release, and it's perfect. I love it so much. I just watched it honestly right before I started recording, and I was dying laughing. Like it's so good. So anyway, it's a coin flip hat. I knit the size 2 in the tall version, and I knit it as a gift for my niece Lily. And so I'll pop a picture in of her so you can see her rocking her coin flip hat. The yarn that I used was Freckled Whimsy, the 2021 Advent yarn. So this is leftovers that I had from my Advent socks. The yarn, I believe, was a 75-25 superwash merino nylon blend. And yeah, it was super fun to knit. It's a modular knit, like a lot of Shayna's designs are. There's the pattern is really clear, and it has pictures for how to join the pieces because the construction is really fun. You knit the 2 sides and then you join it with a strip, and it was a lot of fun. I used the self-striping for all of it, and I really enjoyed it. So that is the next finish that I don't have to show. And then I have one more that I don't have to show, and I honestly don't have a picture of it yet either. About a week before Maryland Sheep and Wool, I decided that I needed to knit my mom something for Mother's Day. And I do this a lot. Like, I love to make her things. I think making things for people that I love is very fulfilling to me, like satisfying to me when I'm working on the project, and then gifting it to them. It feels really great to give something that I've put a lot of time and energy and thought and love into. I think it's a more fun kind of gift to give than something bought, even if it is something somebody really wants. So for Mother's Day this year, I decided that I wanted to knit my mom a summer top. She is working on expanding her hand knit warm weather wardrobe, and I was really wanting to kind of lean into that. So I picked a pattern that I'd had in my favorites for a while, and it's called Mare. Sorry, I don't know if I am saying that correctly. It is a pattern that's put out by Quince & Co. The designer is Hannah Macy Juska. I'm sorry, I do not know how to say her name. It is a beautiful tank top pattern that it's actually designed for Quince & Company Kestrel, which I do have some in my stash, and I might make this for myself using the called for yarn. The yarn that I used for the one that I made for my mom was Rowan Cotton Cashmere in like a sagey green color that I had leftover, well, not leftover, it was repurposed from a previous project that didn't work out due to I had 2 different dye lots. I think that I could use the other dye lot of the yarn to make one for myself and we could be twins. But this was a really fun knit. It has this, I'm gonna see if there's a close-up picture of the details. Yes, there are some detail pictures here. So this tank reminds me of one of my favorite linen tank tops that I have and I wear a lot. It's got this like asymmetrical hem, which was really fun to make, and it also has, which you can kind of see here, it is a slip stitch detail that runs from the front like neck edge down, and that was just a fun detail. It was very simple knit. There wasn't anything hard in it at all, and yeah, I really like it. My mom, it looks great on her. I didn't get any pictures of it on her because the only time she really wore it that weekend was in the hotel room, which there was not good lighting or any of that jazz, and it was just a crummy weekend, so she did not get to wear it for Maryland Sheep and Wool. But I do think she's going to get a lot of use out of it during the summer this year. Okay, so I have a couple of gnomes to show you. One I don't have because I gave it to my son, and while I was able to find Caitlin's gnome in her room very easily, I have no idea where Ryan's is. So I'll pop a picture of his in, but this is the gnome that I made for my daughter Caitlin. I used the Imagine Landscapes No Fun Like Gnome Fun pattern, and some of the details from previous mystery gnomes that I had knit, like I used braids because she wanted her gnome to be a little girl gnome, and I didn't put a beard, and this nose may be from the holiday or December mystery long gnome from the little mini one, I think, maybe. I'm not quite sure. So I used Queen City yarn. Did I use Biddleville DK for the hat and the body? The yellow is Noda Sock, held double in Ryan Yayo. The blue, the body is Bluetiful. Caitlin wanted a We Stand with Ukraine inspired gnome, so we used blue and yellow, and then I found a crochet sunflower pattern on Ravelry, which I don't remember the name of, but I will pop it on the screen below so you can see it as well. It was a really easy pattern. I actually crocheted 2 of the sunflowers. The first one, I held the fingering weight double and made the sunflower, and it was almost as big as the gnome. So we decided she needed a smaller sunflower to hold, and I did it just with a single strand of the Noda Sock fingering weight yarn and made her an appropriate sized sunflower to hold. And so, yeah, she was a lot of fun. I, again, put a big button in her bottom before I finished up those last few rows, and she sits really, really nicely, nice and flat, and does not wobble. I did the same thing for Ryan's gnome. So for his gnome, I used, oh, now I'm trying to think what yarn I used. I know I used Queen City yarn, Biddleville DK, and the Sharpies versus the Fridge colorway for his hat. I'm not sure what I used for the body, to be honest, but I wanted his gnome to have something to hold as well, so I did a crocheted 4-leaf clover for his. So I used the same No Fun Like Gnome Fun pattern by Imagine Landscapes for his gnome. Same size needles and everything, so it was a DK weight gnome that I knit and then crocheted a little 4-leaf clover for him to hold, and he's somewhere probably lost in the pile of stuffies in Ryan's room. So I put a picture in of him holding it, and it's a cute picture because he's super excited, so I hope you enjoyed that. All right, so it's not all the finished objects. It's not. There's so many because it's been so long since I sat down and chatted with y'all. So I hope you have a nice project to work on and a nice drink, whether it's warm or cold. I've got coffee. It's actually pretty warm here today, but it's kind of like coffee all day, every day for me. So sometimes it's iced coffee when it's real hot, but today it's just hot coffee. All right, so I have a finished pair of socks. I've been working on these socks since I think I cast them on in November of 2021, and I've showed them so many times, you know, as works in progress on the podcast. So I'm super excited to share with you that my Nomadic Mary Kitschmas socks are finally finished. I knit these as a tube. I cast on at the cuff with a tubular cast on and knit the whole leg and did a wedge toe, and then I went back in and cut in the heels and just did an afterthought heel, a true afterthought heel. I used a US 1 2.25 millimeter needle for these and 68 stitches, I think. And then when I cut the heel in, I don't have to look at the tutorial anymore because I've done it so many times, but Kirby Werby has an excellent tutorial for cutting in afterthought heels, true afterthought heels, and not getting any holes here. So I followed that tutorial. And then I also, before I began the heel, I knit the heel just like I do a wedge toe, but before I begin the decreases, I knit 5 rounds flat, like without decreases, to give it a little bit more depth because I think they fit me better that way. And I'm pretty sure this pair of socks is for me. I do have someone in my family that wears the same size shoes as I do, so I am not going to put these in the sock drawer yet because I don't want Caitlin to start wearing them in case I decide that I want to use these as a gift for the holidays. Although now that she is wearing my socks all the time, it makes more sense for me to knit myself or to knit more socks for our sock drawer. Okay, the next finished object that I have is a hat for Dan, and this is a fingering weight yarn hill double. I am not sure what yarn it is. This is my pattern, Kristen Clement Designs Hat for Dan, and this pattern is one that I designed in memory of my brother-in-law Daniel, and I am continue to donate all proceeds from pattern sales to the Mortland Rutledge Volunteer Fire Company, and that is the fire company that my brother-in-law devoted a lot of his time to when he was here with us. So I'd like to continue to support them, and I do so with this pattern. So this hat, actually, I think I finished those socks, and I wanted something to knit on that was mindless, and I just opened up a project bag and found it, and I was like, oh, this is awesome, and I was ready to start the crown just about. So I finished this up in an evening. I don't know when I started it really, but it's finished. I still have to weave the ends in and give it a wash and block, but this is going to go in the gift bin for the holidays. All right, the last 2 finished things I have to talk about are garments. So I finished my No Frills pullover by Petite Knits, and this is a sweater that I've been wanting to make for a really long time, just because I'd seen so many people knitting it more than one time, loving the fit, and now that I'm finished with mine, I can tell why. It is such a comfortable sweatshirty kind of sweater. I love the color. I'm not going to put it too close because I don't want to hit the mic, but I used Queen City yarn, Traverse Little Tulips, or Traverse Little Tulips, and this is a colorway that we dyed up for the Sleeping Bear Yarn Club for Wool and Honey, and that was last year. And they actually just did a reorder. Some of their customers wanted some more of it, and so they reordered some more, offered it again, and reordered some for some customers. But I used the Queen City yarn Queen's Road, which is a merino cashmere nylon, and held that with Madison Park mohair, so you can see that halo, that fluff on there. It is crazy soft. I really, really enjoyed knitting this pattern. So here are the yarns separate. So you can kind of see how they play together. So this is the Queen's Road, which is an MCN. And then this is Madison Park Mohair, which is a mohair silk. And when they knit together, they make this beautiful fabric. I couldn't be happier with how this turned out. I could see myself making another one of these for sure. I think the next time I make it, I might just use just a DK weight and not hold a mohair with it, and see how that turns out, because it's a beautiful shape. I mean, it's a raglan, so it's a common shape. I've knit a lot of raglan sweaters, but I really liked it. The pattern was very easy to follow. I did decrease a little slower on the sleeves. I believe I added like an extra round between decreases because I really wanted it to be sweatshirty and comfortable. I don't have great finished object pictures of it yet because I finished it right before bedtime the other night. Threw it on, took a picture with my kids, and then sent them off to bed. Folded it up and set it in here until I was ready to record. So the last finished object that I am wearing, and this is my fresh favorite tee. This is my first garment design. The pattern released last week Thursday, and I am so thrilled with it. I spent a lot of time working on this design, making it size inclusive. It's up to a 74 inch, which I believe is 185 centimeters maybe, bust circumference, chest circumference. It's intended to be worn with 2 to 6 inches of positive ease. I'm currently wearing the size 4, and this gives me about 2 inches of positive ease, and the size 5 that I knit before gives me 6 inches of about 6 inches of positive ease. And so this one is not for me though. I'm sending this one off to Janice. I knit her a sample of it because she wanted one but didn't have time to knit it, and I really enjoyed knitting it, and I was like, I'll make you one, send me some yarn. And so this is Queen City Yarn Coleman. This is the new silk linen blend DK weight yarn that Queen City Yarn has out now. It is a dream to knit with. It's not hard on your hands like linen can be because the silk content, it's really soft and fluid to knit with. It has beautiful drape, and I'm super duper excited about it. So after I am done recording, I'm gonna pop this in the mail to Janice so that she'll have it for some upcoming events and to wear and enjoy throughout the warm months down in the Carolinas. So yes, I think that's all of the finished objects. I told you there was a lot. So buckle up because there's a whole bunch of I made myself lists so that I don't forget stuff. There are a whole bunch of things on my needles as well. I've got socks, I've got another garment, I've got a gnome, and I want to show off my progress on my blanket as well because it has grown a lot since the last time I showed it. So let's start with socks. I have 2 pairs of socks that are almost done. So I have been working on and sharing on the podcast a pair of socks in yarn by the Yarn Jar. And this is the colorway Scholarly. I've been working on these for a while. I'm not quite sure when I started them, but these are going to be birthday socks for my brother Chad. So I have both tubes done. So I knit these the same way as I knit those Nomadic Yarn socks. I cast on with a tubular cast on and knit the tube, which is, you know, the leg and the foot, and then used a wedge toe down at the bottom. They match exactly, which does not happen often, so I'm super excited about that. The only thing left to do in these socks, I even wove the ends in. How about that? The only thing left to do with these socks is to cut in the afterthought heels, and so I just need to sit down and do that. I need to have like an afterthought heel afternoon and get them cut in. I used a US size 1, 2.25 millimeter needle for these socks, and I believe 72 stitches. And yeah, it's a beautiful fabric. I really love the stripe sequence on this pair of socks. And again, the dyer is the Yarn Jar. And I know she's on Etsy because I just saw that she has some really cool yarn in her shop the other day when I was browsing on Etsy. So this is what I have left. I will use the self-striping for the heels as well. And because they match so well, if after I'm done with the first heel I need to pull a little bit off before I start the second one, I'll do that because I think they're just going to be like perfectly matched socks. And then I have another pair, and this is why I said I need to have an afterthought heel knitting afternoon, because I have another pair of socks that only needs heels. This is my Queen City Yarn stand socks that I have been working on. These were my kind of office Zoom meeting socks for a while. I have knit both tubes, and for these, same thing. I used 2 colorways of Queen City Yarn Noda sock for these socks. The top one is Pollen Season, and the bottom one is Stand. So I cast on with Pollen Season, tubular cast on, and did a few rounds of the rib in Pollen Season, and then continued on with Stand. And then I knit the entire leg and foot in Stand, and I also knit the wedge toes using Stand. I will probably use Pollen Season for the heels, I'm thinking. And yeah, these I want to be for me. Or me and Caitlin, I guess. I just really love these colorways. I remember designing the colorways and dyeing them, and I love the way that it came out together. And they will match my Recalibrate tee that is by my friend Shayna Lyons Designs, actually, that I did a test knit in these colorways. I used these colorways in my t-shirt. So I'll have matching socks, but I can't give these away. I love them too much. So I just need to cut the heels in on these as well. And I don't know if I said I also use the ChiaoGoo 2.25 millimeter US 1 needles for these as well. So, like I said, I need an afterthought heel afternoon to finish those up. And then that'll be 2 pairs of socks done. So while we are talking socks, let me show you the other 2 pairs of socks that I have on the needles. I have 2 pairs of my Sporty Shorty sock pattern on the needles right now. One pair is for me and the other is for my husband. So for the pair that I am knitting for myself, I am using this gorgeousness from Joan of Lollipop Yarn. This is the Whistlin' Dixie colorway, and I love it. It's got speckled stripes, and I just love speckled stripes. So I have one done, and like I said, I did the Sporty Shorty pattern, so it's got this little extra bit here at the back of the cuff, the heel flap, and a double gusset heel down at the bottom, and then it's got some rib under the foot to make it fit really great. And this is where I'm at. So one sock is done. The second sock is cast on, and I am currently working on decreasing out the extra gusset stitches in the second gusset of my double gusset heel. So yes, one thing I want to share is, since I've last podcasted, I went home for a weekend to help my dad. He is a woodworker. I've shown off some of his things on the podcast before. He's a woodworker, and my mom has run out of places to put his things in the house because he just makes so many beautiful things. He's got a gorgeous lathe, and he makes all these amazing bowls, and Mom doesn't have any more space. And so my dad is now starting to do some small vendor markets, artist markets. And so in April, I went home and helped him with his first one. And one of my online friends I finally got to meet in real life. I've talked about her on the podcast too because she has inspired me with a few of my makes in the past couple of years. Her name is Rissa. And when I let her know that I was going to be in town because she lives down near where my parents live. And I said, I'm going to be in town. My dad's doing this thing. I would love for you to come out and say hi. So camera died. So I told her that I was going to be in town and I would love to meet her in person if she was able to make it out to the Makers Market, and she came and it was amazing. And she not only came and said hi and also supported my dad with a purchase, she also made me some really cool stitch markers. And so there's a set of 2. This is one of the 2. And so it has a knit, a heart, and a D for decrease. And so what you can do when you are decreasing out and you want to keep track of what you're doing next without having to really look at your knitting, you can just switch it around. So if you're supposed to knit the next row, you put it on the knit side. If you're supposed to decrease the next row, you put it on the decrease side. I just thought that was so cool and so generous of her to spend her time and not only come out to see me, but also bring me a gift that was really sweet. And she was there with her daughters, which was awesome. So, hi Rissa, it was awesome to meet you. Hopefully sometime when I am home, we can actually get together and hang out and knit some. I think that'd be a lot of fun. So, yes, these socks are for me. I'm using Lollipop. And yeah. That's what's happening there. I have another pair of socks on the needles, but these are not for me. These are for my husband. I was finishing up, I think I finished that first sock and I was like, oh, I just love how this sock turned out. Like, I'm using my own pattern, like tell them about it when we were sitting watching TV. And, you know, these socks just fit so well with the little extra at the back of the cup. They don't slip in my shoes. And he was like, you know, you haven't knit me a pair of those yet. And I was like, oh, well, I'll knit you a pair. And so he's like, okay. And then the next day, we were upstairs and I said, why don't you come in here in my office and pick out some yarn? And he did. So I cast on a pair of Sporty Shorty socks for him. The yarn that I am using is from Desert Vista Dye Works. It's the Viso color, base, sorry, words, Viso, I'm not sure. It's a 75% superwash merino, 25% nylon base, and the colorway is Are You a Parrot Head? So it's a Jimmy Buffett inspired colorway, which is a lot of fun. One of the first concerts that my husband and I went to together was a Jimmy Buffett concert. We got my dad tickets for Father's Day one year, and oh my gosh, we had so much fun. That was a long, long time ago. And that was like one of the first times that our parents really got to hang out together. It was a lot. We drank margaritas. It was awesome. So I was tickled when he picked this Jimmy Buffett inspired colorway. And I have one sock done. So if I had just focused on one pair, I'd have a finished pair, but I like options, so I need multiple pairs of socks on the needles. So I'm doing the Sporty Shorty sock pattern, which is my design, which you can actually see it really well in this self-striping because I use the self-striping for the cuff on his sock as well. For mine, I just used the extra mini, so it's all just one color, but I think it looks really cool in the self-striping. So I've done, yeah, it's got the ribbed cuff, heel, double gusset with a rib under the foot to make it fit really nice, and a wedge toe. So I've finished the first one of his socks, and I am working on the heel flap of sock number 2. So I've finished the raised cuff and I'm working on the heel flap. I'm really hoping to work on this a little bit this afternoon and get the heel flap and turn done and the stitches on the needles so that it will be an easy just pick up and knit on project. There won't be any picking up stitches or anything like that once that's done. So yeah, that's my other pair of Sporty Shorty socks. Oh my gosh, if y'all could see the mess around from all the finished things, all the works in progress that I've just been tossing on the floor. I'm gonna have a little bit of cleaning up to do after this. All right, I have 3 more works in progress to show you. So I have one garment on the needles right now, and this was going to be a knit along with my mom, but she just sent me a picture yesterday. She's finished hers and it's gorgeous. But mine is not done. Mine is not even close to done, but I'm enjoying the heck out of it. So I am working on Velocore by Andrea Mowry, and I just threw the pattern on the floor. So about that. I'm working on Velocore by Andrea Mowry. It is I guess it's mosaic knitting is what it actually is, because you're slipping some stitches. I'm not quite sure. This is the design that I'm working on. I am using Queen City Yarn Berry Hill yarn in the Naked colorway. And then I'm using 3 different colors of Spin Cycle. So I did show this the last time, and I wasn't very much farther than, I'm not much farther now than I was then. However, I showed it last time and told you that there were 2 colors of Spin Cycle that I was going to use in this pattern, and they were not that one. Lapis, which is this one, and Labradorite, which is this one. And since then, since my mom is much farther than I am, or was, she said, oh, I think we are going to need more yarn, because we each only had 1 of the 50-gram skeins of each of these colors. We're using the, it is dyed in the wool, so it's the sport weight version. And so for my birthday, she bought me a couple of extra skeins in the Good Omen colorway. So this is Spin Cycle, and the colorway is Good Omen. We actually had purchased the first couple of skeins that we were both using from Black Mountain Yarn Shop with gift certificates that my brother and his and my sister-in-law had given us, my mom for Mother's Day and me for my birthday a couple of years ago. And we went up and shopped there and picked out the Spin Cycle for these tees then. And then when my mom decided that she thought we needed more, she actually called Danny, who is the new owner of Black Mountain Yarn Shop, and said, hey, we need some more Spin Cycle. These are the colors we have. And she helped us pick ones that would go with them, because the ones that we had were not available. But I think it's really beautiful. I'm following the pattern, like I'm doing the stitches like they're supposed to be done, but I'm not following the chart of how the color is supposed to be laid out. So if you look at the way that the one that she's wearing is, there's, you know, multiple stripes of one color, and then a couple stripes, I guess, maybe of the darker, or maybe one stripe, I don't know. I'm not doing that, so I don't really know. But I am just kind of mixing and mingling all of mine. I really like the way that it's turning out. Some of them are more blue, some of them are more teal. It's going to have some purple and some browns in it too. And it's fun. The texture on this is squishy and gorgeous. And yes, I'm loving it so much. So that's the garment that I currently have on the needles. I have 2 more things on the needles to talk to you about. The next thing on the needles is I am taking part in the Make No Mistake Mystery Knit Along by Imagine Landscapes. So if you are doing this and you don't want to be spoiled, then look away. I'm going to show my progress. So I'll start with the colors, and I'll show you my progress so far. So I was using all leftovers for this, and originally I didn't realize this gnome is a little bigger than other ones that I've made, so I'm not going to have enough of one of the colors. So these were my original colors. I'm using Queen City Yarn Noda Sock, and this is Birthday Suit, Raspberry Beret, and Rose Gold. So I had chosen these colors, and then after I did the hat, I was like, oh, well, I have that much left raspberry beret, so I don't have enough for that. So I chose another darker color because you're supposed to have, you know, there's some guidance as to like color saturation. So I picked up some leftovers from another project, and this is Slate, Noda Sock in Slate. And I also may incorporate The Huddle Is Real. So I'm thinking that with the clue that came out yesterday, I may use some of this. There's still a couple of clues left, so I'm not quite sure. So I'm going to show it now. So if you don't want to see it, look away. But so far, this is my Make Gnome Mistake Mystery Knit Along project. The first few days wore the hat with this super cute mushroom color work. And then I started on the body. The clue yesterday is the rest of the body. So I'm really enjoying it. I'm using a coffee stitch marker from my friend Shayna. She sent me this gorgeous set of stitch markers from Twin Mountain Handcrafts for my birthday. And they have these awesome like earring closures at the tops. They're super easy to use and I really love them. So I put a cup of coffee on my gnome. Okay, that's the gnome. The last project that I have to share is my Cozy Comfort Throw, which I showed you in progress last time, and I did put a thingy on it so I can show you. I haven't doubled the size. I was about to get really excited. I have not doubled the size since I showed it last time, but I have made a lot of progress. I've been knitting on this during meetings instead of a pair of socks. Let me get that out of the way so they're not banging together. So this is where I was last time, and I've made all this progress. So I've added in like 3 more colors. So it's getting long. I'm loving it. It's very, very squishy. I love the way the fade is working, and it's a good thing I'm liking it because there's a whole lot more of it to knit. This ball is still about the size of my face, but yeah, I'm enjoying it. It's just slow and fun to knit on, completely mindless. So I've been in Zoom meetings or FaceTime meetings with Janice for some like business, Queen City business, and then also for the design circle, which I'm a part of, for just like some chatter there on designing and kind of supporting each other with that. And so yeah, I'm loving it. So I'm using, this is my 2021 Queen City Yarn Advent yarn. So all the minis, I just made one humongous ball, and I'm holding this together with undyed, so like the birthday suit colorway of Queen City Yarn Noda Sock. Speaking of advents, the Queen City Yarn Advent for 2022 is on the website now. Some of the details have been released and it is available for pre-order now, but next week we're going to be making more announcements. But this year's theme is so good. It is a very Hallmark holiday, which the Hallmark holiday movies are super duper cheesy, but they are some movies that I have seen so many of. When we go to the farm, we don't have like cable, like, you know, like the whatever, all the channels. And for a long time, like, we didn't have decent internet, and so we couldn't get on Netflix and stuff like that. And like one channel that was always there was the Hallmark Channel, and so they do like a Christmas in July thing. And there's been many a summer that I've sat and watched Hallmark Christmas movies at the farm, and they're all just super corny and very predictable, but also just like heartwarming and fun and cheesy. So anyway, we're super excited at that. We have the Hallmark holiday theme for the Advent this year. So those are on the website now, and you can go and pick one up, or you can wait till next week and see the extra fun goodies that we're going to have included as well. Well, not see them, but like find who the makers are, because this year we're collaborating with 4 different small businesses to add a little bit more fun, whimsy, and yeah, just to collaborate with more makers, to bring more makers to you through the Advent box. So that's what's going on. Now there's Maryland sheep and wool to talk about. I'm gonna pause and turn it back on. That way it doesn't cut me off mid-sentence again. So I'll be right back. Okay, let's talk about Maryland Sheep and Wool weekend, shall we? This year was extra fun because it was very different, but it was extra fun because my daughter Caitlin joined us. Usually it is just a mother-daughter weekend. I have brought the kids before, but this was the first time that Caitlin has come like as a knitter herself, and she really enjoyed herself, and we had a really, really great girls' weekend. The whole drive down, her and I chatted about all kinds of things, mother-daughter kind of chat, and that was a lot of fun just to have that one-on-one time with her, and it was really special. And then we got to spend the whole weekend with my mom, which was even more special, even though the weather was not great. So we drove down Friday after school, after Caitlin got home from school, and got to the hotel, which was really nice, and went out and got some dinner. And then we just watched movies and hung out and knit in the room after that. And then Saturday, we had all intentions of going to Maryland Sheep and Wool, like going to the festival on Saturday. However, the weather was really not great. It was rainy, it was cold, everything was muddy. We didn't want to get stuck in the parking lot or anything like that. So, and we also knew that we wanted to spend some time in Frederick, which is where the hotel that we stayed in was. And Janice and quite a few of my friends that I know through other knitting retreats that I've been to, the one that I used to go to in the North Carolina mountains in the fall, which no longer is happening, but I have a lot of good friends that I haven't seen since that. And so Janice was in a house with them. She had come up earlier and done Yarn Centric, which happened on Friday with Queen City Yarn, had a big vendor booth there. And that's a new event, which will continue. And it is a smaller indie dye one-day event. There was like food trucks. And even though the weather was crummy, she said it was great, that there was a lot of people who came out and were excited, and a lot of good vendors, and so hopefully that will continue to grow. But so that was Friday during the day. And then Saturday, my mom, Caitlin, and I met up with all those ladies for lunch at, I wish I remember the name of the restaurant. It was really good. We were a big group though. It took a long time for us all to get our food and eat and everything because we were such a large group. But we went to a restaurant in Frederick for lunch, and then we went to a couple of shops in Frederick. So like I said earlier, my birthday comes right after Maryland Sheep and Wool, like the next week. And so I got a couple of birthday gifts too. I showed you the spin cycle, the Good Omen spin cycle that my mom had gotten me. She also got me, these are called pearl strings, which are, I think, the same thing as like that Knitter's Barber cord stuff. So you can hold stitches on them. These ones are black, but you can hold your stitches on them and not have to use waste yarn or use your cables. I have quite a few extra cables, but I don't have enough of the little end stopper things, and so I'm really excited to use these the next time I need to hold stitches for sleeves or for whatever. So pearl strings, I got those from my mom. And then I got a beautiful card from all my friends, and Janice brought me a gift, and then she gave it to me out at lunch. One of the things that she gave me is a Queen City Yarn sock blank. So for a while we were ordering sock blanks and keeping them in the dye studio and using them as like cleanup rags for splattered dye or speckles or whatever. And so when I packed up my dye studio, there was one that was partially used. It wasn't like completely filled of color yet. And so when Janice was unpacking the dye studio, she found it and she used it for a while and gifted it to me. So I'm really excited to knit this up into something. But so yes, this is a Queen City Yarn sock blank. It's our Noda sock, which is a 75-25, and it's a single knit sock blank because I don't have time for those double knit blanks. 2 socks at a time. I know some people really love those, but that's just not my jam. And then another thing that she got from me is, this is like crochet cotton from Busy Peach, and it's all these beautiful colors of cotton, which I'm excited. So I've been doing, and I've been showing a little bit more crochet here and there. But she got me all this beautiful rainbow of color so that I can use them for some crochet. I haven't decided what I want to make. There's going to be many things, I think, but I love it. Absolutely love it. So those were gifts during lunch. And then we went to the Magpie Fibers store, and I don't have it up here with me, it's downstairs because I was using it earlier. I bought myself one of the Cocoa Knits Makers boards. It's a magnetic board. I'll pop a picture in so you can see what it looks like. It's a magnetic board, and then I bought a set of the magnets that go on it, like the ruler and stuff. That was what I bought at the Magpie store. There was so much gorgeous yarn. The shop is absolutely beautiful. They had a bunch of Shelly Can stuff there. There was some exclusive Lola Bean yarn there. They had a vault full of Spin Cycle. They had sewing supplies. And it wasn't all Magpie yarn either. Like, not just only Spin Cycle and Lola Bean. Also, there were some other yarns there, and it was beautifully done. I was very excited to get to go and see that shop and spend some time there. And so we went in there and spent some time in there. And then we also went to the Knot House. And I don't know what project that's on. At the Knot House, we got, there was quite a few makers there at the Knot House as well. I'm trying to think where I bought these really cute little stitch markers there, but I don't know what bag they're in. Oh, they're in this bag. Okay, I'm back. So Black Pearl Magic was there. Oh, I don't have one on here. And Caitlin, my daughter, spent quite a bit of time chatting with her and her husband. They were so sweet. And Caitlin found these gummy bear stitch markers from her. And so she was like, Mom, we have to get these gummy bear stitch markers. And she's got one on her project. And here's another one. So it was a set of 3 green gummy bear stitch markers. So here are 2 of the ones that I got. And Caitlin has the 3rd on her hat project. And so anyway, it was so nice to get to chat with her and to see everything at the Knot House. There was a lot of dyers, or quite a few dyers there for pop-ups. Little Fox was there, Chelsea of Chelsea Yarns, Chelsea Lux was there, and there was it was just full of absolutely gorgeous yarn. And so that was Saturday. We also just spent some time walking around in Frederick. It is such a cute little town. There's so many cool little shops, and so we just had a nice afternoon in Frederick. And then after that, we went back to the hotel and let Caitlin swim some, because there was an indoor pool at the hotel, and we let her swim some and get some energy out. And then we went over to the house that Janice and all the ladies had for the weekend, and had dinner there and just hung out and knit some, and that was a lot of fun too. To just really get some time to just hang out was good, really good. And then Sunday we got up and we, loaded up the car and everything, because we were checking out of the hotel, and we went to Maryland Sheep and Wool Festival. And it was muddy, but we brought our wellies and it was fine. We didn't have any problem with parking. I know I had heard that a couple of people had gotten stuck on Saturday. We didn't have any problem with that. And we did park in the back lot, like across the road from the festival, but there was a shuttle bus, which we didn't take on the way into the festival, but we did take on the way back to the car, and it dropped us off right at our cars. It was amazing. So Sunday we spent the day at the festival, and it was nice. It was so nice. It was not as busy. I've only ever been on Saturday before. I've never been to the festival on Sunday, and it was a much slower pace. It wasn't as crowded, and that felt really good for kind of the state of things now with COVID and all. And so we felt good about walking around the festival, and we went through all the barns. We saw lots of sheep. We visited the outdoor vendors as well, and we just had a really nice time. We went and saw the sheepdog trials, which is something that Caitlin was very adamant that she wanted to see again, because she remembered seeing it many years ago when I brought the kids with me to Maryland Sheep and Wool back before they even were in elementary school. So yeah, it was a ton of fun. It was a really, really good day. So I'm going to show you some of the things that I got. I didn't get a lot of yarn, but I did get some things that I'm really excited about. And so the first thing I got was from Matterroot. I got just a crew neck t-shirt with a heart that is like knit on there. They had a beautiful booth outside, and I've gotten things from them before. And I wish I knew her name. The woman who owned the business, was the one that was helping us, and Caitlin wanted a t-shirt too, and she got one, but she didn't want a kid-sized t-shirt. She wanted an adult-sized t-shirt, and the kid-sized t-shirts were a little bit less expensive, and the owner said, I have a 10-year-old daughter too. I know, and I was trying to convince Caitlin to get the kid size because it would fit her better, and all the things, and she was just like, she's gonna get the adult size, I know. And I was like, yeah, I know. So she gave us the child price because she was like, it's a child wearing it. So I thought that was cool. I mean, she was just very personable, very friendly, and really nice to talk to. That's one thing that I enjoyed most, I think, about going back to the festival, was getting to just spend time chatting with other makers, small businesses, and it was just really nice. The atmosphere was just great, even though it was cold. It wasn't raining, but it was so nice. The next thing that I bought, I don't know the name of the place. I wish I did, but I don't. I don't have my receipt or anything like that. But there was a vendor in the main barn, the main exhibition hall or whatever, that was selling pieces of wool fabric. And one of the things that I was looking for at Maryland Sheep and Wool that was like on my list was interesting things to weave into wall hangings. And I saw these various bundles of wool fabrics. I mean, they're just remnants. They're leftovers from making blankets or pillows or bags or whatever. But they're so beautiful. Like, they're just really gorgeous fabrics. And I thought, wouldn't it be cool to cut these into some strips and weave them in to wall hangings? I just think that'd be so much fun. And so I bought 2 bundles, and they were so inexpensive. I mean, they were only $3 each. But they had like this beautiful herringbone. Look at this little tweedy guy, and just really, really beautiful. It's like, you can tell it's really nice quality wool fabric. I love this one. I think that is gorgeous. So yeah, I'm planning to use like a rotary cutter or maybe some scissors or whatever, and cut them into strips and weave them in to some of the wall hangings. Isn't that one cool? That's just really cool. So that was my second purchase. Okay, and then again, with weaving on my mind, I found Cranberry Creek Fibers. Had some really cool, I guess this is for like maybe rugs or whatever, really thick core spun yarn. And so I got a natural and like a taupey gray. And this is 2 ounces. It says it's great for wall art, so I'm going to use that in my weaving, which really reminds me of the yarn that I used that was left over from that big thick blanket that I made for Mike for Valentine's a few years ago. So I got those. And this was probably this may have been my favorite purchase of the day. Withers Wool and Farm. So they had these gorgeous hand spun, I think, yarns that are just super interesting. And I bought them specifically for weaving. They had some woven samples in their booth and they're just beautiful. So not only is the yarn just gorgeous, these are two different ones. This one has like little spun like tails on it, which is cool. This one's got little floofs. It's spun like thick and thin and then plied with a thread of some sort. I thought they were so interesting, and when I saw them I just couldn't resist. So not only was the yarn that they had in their booth amazing, the people that were in there were also really cool too, and told me a lot about the farm. And they do tours. They're not too far from here. They do tours. They love kids. And so my mom and I were talking about, wouldn't it be fun to plan a trip where we could take Caitlin and Ryan and maybe their cousin Lilia and go and visit this farm and see the sheep. And then they, you know, they have, I just wound them up together. Isn't that funny looking? They have, you know, a market, like a little marketplace there at their, where they sell things that they make, like this awesomeness. So, but I really want to go and do that, do a tour of the farm. And they just were saying how much they just love when kids come, because Caitlin was really eating it up too. She was enjoying that. All right, and then the last thing that I bought is from Green Mountain Spinnery, and this is Lana, which is a 2-ply fingering weight, and in the color Borrasca, I believe. I fell in love with this color at the booth. There are so many nuances within this color that I just could not leave it there. It's got purples and blues and grays and little blips of magenta. It's just absolutely gorgeous. I fell in love with this skein and quite a few others at the booth. That's blowing it out a little bit, but you can kind of see still the nuances of the color with that kind of bright light on it. So yeah, the Green Mountain Spinnery booth was absolutely beautiful, and it was hard not to leave with a bag full from there. So that's what I bought at Maryland Sheep and Wool. I didn't go super duper crazy. For me this year was, my purchases were more focused towards weaving, because I really am enjoying that new kind of like adventure, which I've done weaving before, but this like wall art style of weaving is really exciting to me right now. I'm really enjoying that. So most of my purchases were focused on that. And then it was more about just spending time with my mom and with Caitlin and having that experience together. So yeah, that was Maryland Sheep and Wool. It was tons of fun. It felt really good to be out at a festival again. And yeah, so I think that's it. That was a really long episode. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you've been working on something super fun. I hope that it's not over a month before I can come and chat with you again. Hopefully my kids stay well and all of that good stuff, so that I can come to speak with you more regularly. But yeah, I'm looking out my window. We've got a fox family, and Mama is running across my backyard right now. She's beautiful. Okay, that's something that I have been enjoying a lot this spring. Last year we saw some foxes. We have a field behind our home, and last year we saw some running through the field, but this year Mama must have a den close by, and she goes back and forth across our backyard quite a few times during the day, and when I'm sitting up here I get to watch her, and I've been enjoying it so much. So yeah, This feels very scattered, so if it was, I'm sorry. But I do hope you enjoyed it. I hope that you're having a nice spring, that you're finding some fun things to work on. If you need a summer warm weather project, check out my Fresh Favorite Tee. It is live now. It's available over on Ravelry and also over at queencityyarn.com. You can purchase the pattern there, and you can also find kits for the Fresh Favorite Tee using the Coleman yarn over at queencityyarn.com. So yeah, until next time, happy knitting. Bye.